NZ Aerosports, Icarus Canopies, now Gyro. That's right, we've rebranded, and Gyro is our next generation. It honours our founder, as that's the name we knew him by, but Gyro also marks the start of a new chapter. And not to be biased, but it's going to be fucking epic. Long story short, we're more us than ever, so if you're new to the sport, or even a Sky God Ninja Turtle, welcome. I think our valiant leader Lucy, Gyro's daughter, says it best.
And we still got that fuck yeah attitude. Rebrand! Woo!
Rebrand woo indeed, Lucy. Anyway, head over to gyro.com for more info and get amongst your legends.
I was 19, broke, unemployed, and sold my girlfriend's canopy for drug money. So I thought I better sew her a new one. What a sentence, and what a story. This describes the humble yet outrageous beginnings of NZ Aerosports, the home of Icarus Canopies, in the words of our founder himself. From getting a paratrooper toy from his mom, watching parachutes at the DZ as a 6-year-old, jumping off the wharf with a parachute made from bed sheets, doing his first jump at 16, sewing his first canopy on a borrowed machine at 19, and starting to sell parachutes out of a garage in 1986, Paul Gyro Martin had an undying love for the sky. Our company started with one man with the wildest of spirits and a true blue sky dream, a renegade. In the time that Gyro created and ran the Icarus Canopies brand until he passed away in 2017, he pushed everything he had to its limits. We miss him, and we always will. Gyro is the next generation of NZ Aerosports. It honors our founder, of course, because it was the name we all knew him by, but Gyro the rebrand also marks the start of a new chapter, our next jump. Gyro is the space between sound and silence, art and science, chaos and calm. Gyro is a state of epic tranquility that transcends understanding. That moment, in the door, in free fall, mid-swoop, where nothing but the present exists. A perfect balance of euphoria and thrill. Gyro captures our passion for flying and our commitment to designing break-the-fucking-rules canopies that deliver pilots pure, wild flight.
Coming straight from the cockpit, it's another episode of Lunatic Fringe with the fucking pilot.
Ready, set, go. All right, once again, back in the can for another edition of Lunatic Fringe Into the Void. Got somebody in the can with me, no remote control, no internet. Cheers.
Cheers, brother.
And who the fuck are you and what do you do?
I'm Ryan Graney.
Oh, shit. Some people just flinched.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, okay. And I originally came here because Micah Couch and the wingsuit team adopted me.
Yeah.
I met Micah in 2014. Base jumping, he had like 30 base jumps. Obviously an exemplary skydiver. But I was always a base jumper that didn't skydive very much. And we hit it off and saw him packing a base rig like he was pro-packing his sports rig in a car park at 6 a.m. And I was like, I saw it was so terrible, I just kicked it over. And I was like, dude, nah, bro. You're one of those can do everything, so everyone assumes you're amazing. And so we started base jumping together, and then as stuff progressed, he was like, if we're going to continue, you need to train. And primarily, I've made my money over the years being in oil and gas inspection programs.
Okay.
And he was like, you need to skydive more. I'll get a budget from the wingsuit team, and we'll bring you here. And I was going to be their driver. I was going to be the new Sergeant.
Nice.
Of the wingsuit team.
Yeah.
And then I got here and I got a job doing what I normally do, but the job was I only had to work between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m. and the drop zone doesn't open until 11. So I could do everything when I got here, and it's a pretty cool way to come and sort of change my life. And now I'm just doing tandems and working on my CPL pilot's license. And
Nice. Now, how'd you get started in the sport? I mean, where was the first jump? Or was there anything extreme that led you to jumping off of shit and out of airplanes?
Yeah, I was a climbing instructor when I was young.
Okay.
Up until about 24, and I went to Yosemite.
Mm.
Did 2 seasons there, and I saw a couple guys base jump, like pre-YouTube, so you couldn't go look it up.
Right.
I saw guys jump off a cliff when I was on the cliff and was like, wow, they had 2 180s, and I was like, I'm hanging like 500 meters off a cliff. I watched 2 guys have massive offhandings and just face me on the cliff, and I was like, what is that? And my friend was like, it's called base jumping. Like, it's a way people get down off mountains when they... And I was like, I hate walking down. Like, I love climbing up. I got like shit knees and hips and stuff.
Sure.
I don't want to walk down with a heavy pack.
Right.
And I was like, can we just go do that? He's like, no, no, we can't. You need to go skydiving. It took me about 5 years to have enough money because I was a dirtbag at that point. So it took about 5 years to have enough money. So 2009, I called a drop zone in my hometown. I met Wildman, who's Adrian Thumer.
Okay, yeah.
I met him on an oil rig.
Oh, wow.
In 2009, I was like, I'm thinking about doing this base jumping stuff. I hear that you're like a big deal. I've got, I want to go do a thing. He's like, go home to Australia and go do your AFF.
Right.
And I was like, who do I call? And he's like, call this guy at your home drop zone. And then I called the guy up and I'm like, do you have an AF course? He's like, no. I'm like, I was working offshore, so I had money. I'm like, no, I got 2 weeks off and like money. Do you have an AF course? He's like, oh, hang on, you've got money. Like, we can suddenly, like, at our little Cessna drop zone, run an AF course. So I rocked up, did my AF in a weekend. Nice. Smashed out 88 skydives, and then I called. I was in Thailand for my B license, and I met a guy called Johnny Guru, who is from Hawaii originally. Got like 10,000 jumps, demo jumper, master rigger, all that. And I was like, "Can you teach me to base jump?" And he's like, "Sure." Are you ready? And I was like, "Fucking yes, I'm ready." And he's like, "Oh, that's all I needed here. Like, if you like believe, it's there." And I was like, I'll pay you to come from Hawaii, and I'll pay for your accommodation and give you a free holiday, which was cheaper than me doing a course. Sure. And you can teach me how to base jump. So I went to Perrine and did 20 jumps with him. And then that was it. Wow. And then after that, I was like, it scared me enough that I was like, okay, I need to skydive a bit more. Right. So I did like sort of like up to 200 or whatever. Right. And then all of a sudden, I had like 300 base jumps and 200 skydives or something. So I definitely approached it the wrong way, but this is like early 2000s, so it's the end of the silly era. Sure. Now it's a lot more structured. People approach it differently. Yeah. Well, it's funny. I had I was working at Skydance in Davis for quite a few years for Ray Farrell out there, both as a pilot and starting out as a tandem instructor and AFF instructor. And we had a bunch of guys come out of Yosemite, a guy by the name of Nick Martinez and Ammon McNeely. They're two of my good friends. Yeah. I climbed with Nick and Ammon. All right, so I love Nick and Ammon and Evo. Evo's the guy who adopted me in Yosemite. So how amazing is this? So I was their AFF instructor. Well, yeah, Evo took me. He saw me in the campground. I was just doing. Because you don't really have information back then. Right. So when I got there, I'd never seen magazines or anyone that had done anything crazy, and I just assumed these were just normal people. I didn't realize that the level they were at. Yeah, they're not normal. And he was like, "You're fun and kind of crazy. Do you want to come and be like the support guy on our big wall attempt?" So Evo took me up there and. I took him my first thing, and I come back the next season, and they kind of adopted me. This is before any of us were jumping. Right. Before most people were jumping back then. Sure. And Evo is one of my... it's funny because the next time you talk to Evo, just walk up to him and just get really intense and say, relax, and then give him a big hug and say, Dean said hello. Yeah, it was funny because he's such an intense guy, which is very contrary to what I would assume someone at his level at climbing would be, because he's super just energetic and he's full on, and so we're getting into skydiving and he's super hard to calm down. I couldn't get him to just chill. Yeah, doodly. Super. And I'd tell him, we'd talk about the skydive because he was having trouble getting through a couple of levels, and we'd start talking about the skydive, and I'd be like, look, the key word for you on this skydive is just to relax.
Just chill. Just relax.
Chill, buddy.
And he would go, okay, I'm going to relax. And I'm like,
No,
Okay,
you're
that's-
Bulgarian, and it's just that. I think that's Bulgarian relaxed.
Yeah.
but it's intense.
yeah, I'm like, dude, that is so 100% not what I meant,
Yeah.
And of course they got through the course and everything, and it was Ammon, Nick Martinez, Evo, and one or two other guys all came out. And they said they were climbers from Yosemite. We didn't know, of course, that they were like fucking the climbers.
Yeah.
Ammon having set world records up El Cap, and Nick Martinez having done a solo up El Cap that was like 20 or 25 days, something obscene like that.
He came down like I was there. He ran out of water and he went missing for a while, and we were all watching him and like, is he gonna be alright?
Right.
Because when he did that first one, he didn't really have a lot of experience.
Sure.
And that was like he went full commitment. Like the Brazilian style.
Right. Yeah.
The Brazos go pretty hard.
Oh yeah.
And he come down, and we had a slideshow, which what it probably is was the start of the Real Rock group.
Okay.
The Camp 4 Collective.
Okay.
With Renan and stuff. That was the group of the original outdoor content started coming out from those guys.
Okay.
And like early days, I'm not talking digital cameras. I'm talking 2004 or 5, where we're like
Right.
we're Sony
High 8.
Yeah, like these things that you like big camcorder kind of
Right.
things. We were on the start of digital, but like it still was a big boxy.
Still bricks. Yeah.
Yeah, and we went and did a bunch of stuff, and he came down and he just made it down for the last, and like you could see how emaciated he was. And he's like,
And Nick's a thin guy anyway.
yeah, and like he'd had like 3 or 4 beers, and like I met this guy the first thing, and I was like, I'd just done a 5-day wall event, and I was
Right.
like, Nick, how did you survive? And like drunk as shit, he was like, everything you need is inside of you, bro. It's already in you. You just, if you know it's inside you, you can keep going. I'm like, dude, you just spent the last 4 days without water.
Yep. Yep.
I don't care how much you've got inside you. Like what you just did is like epic.
Oh yeah.
And but he didn't even know. None of us did back then. No, we didn't know because you couldn't watch YouTube videos.
Yeah.
You didn't know what the standard was, so the people were just pushing themselves as far as they could go.
Right. Yeah.
And he's-
Well, and it fit their personality when they all came out, and they're like, yeah, we're big time climbers, and we want to learn how to skydive so we can jump off the shit we climb.
Yeah.
And of course, you've been a skydiver for a long time now, so you've heard it all at some point. You're like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure, you bet. You guys are climbers, you want to jump off of shit. And then the next thing you know, a little bit of research, and you find out, oh, they actually are like somebody, and then you're friends now, and they're posting pictures, and you're watching them flicking all this crazy shit, and Ammon the pirate, and
I mean,
epic stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why those guys didn't go as far in base jumping as they would have liked is because they didn't concentrate on skydiving. I think that's now the new way. Like if you look at all of the people that have come through and gotten good, and even the people that I've taught have like progressed so much faster as the ones that
Sure.
skydives. The strong base jumpers are the ones that train, and that took me a long time to learn. And it's a different game now for sure.
Well, so now you started out so full on when it came to base jumping, which is for a lot of people a fucking recipe for disaster. I mean, it is just begging for something to go wrong because you don't have the skills that you need canopy wise and all that stuff aren't second nature yet. No. I mean, you must have had some serious close calls.
First season, so I did the Parian trip, and then a year later I was on an oil rig. I met a guy called Josh Capel, now one of my best friends, and he was like, I'm going to Switzerland next week. We were on like oil and gas money, so we had ridiculous cash. I'm like, I met this guy in a crib room, and he's like, I'm going to Switzerland. Like we had 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off.
Right.
So I'm going to Switzerland next week, and then we're going to do 2 weeks work, and we're going to go to KL next thing, and you have to have like a couple hundred jumps to go to KL at that point.
Sure.
But I like lied, got a reference, So I met this guy, and then one day we just booked tickets to Switzerland, and then the following trip to KL.
Jesus.
But on the first Switzerland trip, it was like late September, and there's snow and ice and shit, and I had a wall strike and broke my arm and got helicopter rescued.
First season.
First at like 36 jumps, dude. Like totally went like the climber route. Like I'm totally got this, but no understanding of what we're even doing.
Sure.
We abseiled down to an exit, waited there, and then got clouded out. So we're sitting in like rain and sleet for like an hour, and then like obviously building up nerves, and then
Right.
I had a shit exit and did the old pancake chip fucking down, and I had line twists and a whole bunch of shit, and just basically was biting off more than I can chew. And I hit the wall, landed on top of a ledge about 100 meters off the ground, and I was like, shit, like maybe I can climb down. I'm a climber, you know. Went to take my helmet off, and my like arm just fell. I'd broken my ulnar, and I was like, shit, I'm up shit creek here.
Right.
And so then I called I tried it, like this is where the start of smartphones.
Thank fuck.
So the first Nokia smartphone, no, not thank fuck, because the normal one you could dial. This thing is covered in blood and water. I'm trying to swipe the thing, but the swipe isn't very good because it's the first screen. You know, the screens are shit.
Right.
So I finally got a call through to this Croatian girl that I've been sleeping with who doesn't speak very much English. And I call her, and she's like, "Oh, you want coffee with me?" And I'm like, "Well, I'd love a coffee with you, babe, but I'm currently stuck up on Steckelberg Wall, and I could really do with a helicopter rescue. You're the only." And she's like, didn't understand shit, so I hung up on her. I finally got through to Farrell, called Farrell, and I'm like, "Hey, bro, like I'm on Steckelberg Wall. I'm sitting in a bush. Whoa, I really could do a thing." So that he's like, cool, I'm going to send our friend Curly down in my car, and I'm going to get the helicopter. And I can see everyone driving down the road, and she's looking up on the wall, and she crashed the car like 500 meters before she got me. She's looking up so much, she just drove into a ditch, and I'm like, that's my rescue. I'm like, oh, I'm fucked here. So I learned a pretty solid lesson on that first one. I took about a year off after that, and then went and skydived more, but I still only had probably like 300 or 400 jumps. And then I got through the next few years, but I was still at maybe like, I would say 400 skydives and 200 base jumps or something.
All right.
And then I met Micah in Chirag, and we were doing the first heli boogie in 2014.
Okay.
Him and Ellis are just hucking free fly jumps off there in slick, and they got like Jarrett's pro packing everyone's rigs, like guy in a wheelchair's done more jumps than everyone and packed everyone, like, because we had Shady, Jason Christensen, Micah, all these guys. None of them really knew how to pack base rigs. So Jarrett is just packing 3 or 4 rigs per load, still out jumping people. He's getting in the helicopter. We're carrying his wheelchair to the exit.
Well, those are some of my favorite pictures ever.
Yeah. Like Jarrett's one of the most hardcore people I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that sort of happened. And then the next season, me and Micah just hit it off really good. And we started to do things. And, like, I'm a reasonably athletic person, so I could keep up. I was like kind of tracking, like, because I didn't learn how to track out of a plane. I learned how to track your suit, and like to track a 2-piece tracking suit is actually not about being able to fly your body. It's about being able to fly the suit.
The suit, yeah.
So I already had that dialed. So all these guys who were like way better than me didn't know how to track the suit. So I'm like, I'm there, and we're doing like linked hand. Me and Micah just did like 60 handheld jumps. We're just holding hands off the exit, because he's like, when you do skydiving, you separate, like, how do you stay close in base jumping? I'm like, at that point, no one flew together. You do 2 ways and you just separate straight off exit.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And he's like, no, in skydiving, when you're at the plane and you don't want to separate, you hold hands, you link. So Micah's like, let's link. And I'm just like stunning the shit, and we're doing like weird exits, and we got to a point where it went over about a year that he was like, well, if we're going to keep doing these crazy head down exits and stuff, you don't actually know how to fly head down. You just getting it done because you're like kind of understand body movement.
Sure.
And he's like, you need to come train. So we did a full season and that's just when he joined the wingsuit team. He quit MacToom.
Yeah.
And then so I'm hanging out with Micah and Noah and Julian and Greg. And at the end of the season, we got to the point and we're standing in Voss, and Micah was like, should we tell him? And Noah was like, yeah, just tell him now. And they're like, we're keeping you. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, you need to come to Dubai in September. The wingsuit team has a budget. This is still in the glory days.
Right.
We're going to pay you to be the driver. And basically what we're going to do is you can train outside of our jumps, and we'll look after you. And so I moved into Noah's house.
Okay.
And me and Julian Bull shared an L-shaped couch for about 6 months. And then me, Julian, Jason Christian, and Ramsey Hamadi got a big villa in Al Barsha. And as I arrived here, I realized I don't want to just be like, I'm a professional person. I don't just want to be the driver of the wingsuit team.
Sure.
I've got a bit more going on than that.
Sure.
And like when you manifest something in the world, right, it comes to get you. So as soon as I arrived here, I got offered a job, and I ended up being the inspection and maintenance coordinator for the whole of Ski Dubai. And I ran the refurbish of the whole Mall of Emirates.
How did that happen?
Manifestation, bro. Like I decided to come, and then all of a sudden the world was like, okay, he's going to Dubai, and like without any input, because I've been working in many countries. I had a company in the UK at that point.
Okay.
I was doing offshore work in Australia, and I was just contracting, and like it's all like 3 or 4 week, maybe multiple trips, but like short contracts, three to 5 months. Can you come and do this at this oil rig? And I get a call from one of my offshore mates, and he's like, can you come to Dubai? And I'm like, no shit, I'm going there in 3 days. And he's like, well, dude, we got this contract, and these Arabs will pay us to do like very little, but like just manage this crew. And I was like, I'm going to be working at the drop zone. I've got to jump from like 11 till 5. Like I'm going to be hanging out with Micah. And he's like, okay, we'll pay you, but you only have to be there from 4 a.m. until 10 a.m. So you do like your full day's work, but they didn't want us working during the day at Mall of Emirates.
Right.
Because the noise, we're like right above, après ski, we're right above that area.
Yeah.
So you know how the Mall of Emirates has the ski Dubai? It's basically like a big freezer.
Yeah.
It's like a rectangle. There's an exoskeleton around that. And then there's the fiberglass that you see there. So we were doing all of the inspection on the metal fabrication.
Okay.
All through the whole thing.
All right.
So turns out they had an expectation. I asked the client at the start, like, how much do you want done per day? And I was like, as soon as they told me, I'm like, oh, I can do 10 times that without even any staff.
Right.
So like, I was like, I'll do twice as what you expect in a quarter of the time. And then I could go to the drop zone.
Nice.
So it just worked out really well, and paid lots of money and got to hang out with the guys. And
so now, again, you said you were a climbing instructor young. So
Yeah.
How young did you get started with that?
16. I was going to leave school on year 12. I had a few problems at the end of school. A friend got in a car accident. I was like over it. My parents took me to a really nice private school. I got a bit of like the ADHD and all that sort of gear, so I didn't really fit into the normal private school environment. So I was going to quit, and then they were like, no, you can create your own subject and you can go work at this climbing sort of outdoor ed company.
Sure.
You can work every Friday during year 12, get paid for it, do 4 days at school, and the 5th subject can be like a business studies kind of thing, and you can write your own assignments based on what you do. So I became a climbing guide at like 17 years old.
Wow.
And then there was no information on what was a normal way to go into it. So I just went to Yosemite, and like I just started charging.
Awesome.
I come back, and then there was a guy, Peter Cooper. He ran the industrial rope access company where I was working, and he was like, if you want to have a career, there's these. If you do rope access, like which is based on what you're doing,
Right.
they can pay you over $100,000 a year
Shit.
to go work offshore. And I was like, no fucking way. You're going to pay me $100,000 a year to do what I'm doing now, but on an oil rig? And he's like, no, seriously. Like, with like week-long courses, not even a big, you don't have to go and be a proper engineer. You can go to these week-long components of engineering.
Sure.
And then you can go things.
Jesus.
So at 18, I went and smashed out all the courses. And then, like, I've always been a person that's like, get all the accreditation, work it out later.
Right.
Right? Like, be qualified and learn.
Yeah.
So I did that, and then all of a sudden at like 23 or 4, I'm offshore with like, $150,000 wage.
Fucking can't beat that.
And then I could start to like, I could actually fund, I was almost self-sponsoring my own professional climbing after that.
It's kind of funny because I was going to ask what the family thought of the whole extreme sports thing, but I think you already answered the question just with problems in school and it leading the direction that it did. They probably ended up pretty damn happy.
At the start, it was pretty hectic, to be honest. The first trip, there was no internet. So I went for 3 months.
Oh.
And like, this is where, we're talking the start of the internet, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So to contact mum and dad when I was away, the first trip, there was 2 computers in the library in Yosemite Village, and you had to book every Thursday. And if you didn't book, so like 6 weeks went by, my mum just assumed I was dead, and she's like, suddenly 12 weeks, and like, young man, drunk, not very articulate.
Right.
I just went, everything's going great, love you, like one shitty email.
She wanted you dead.
No, she was just like, okay, like, I suppose this is good.
Yeah.
But the first trip, I had like maybe like 2 emails in 12 weeks. And, and I left the country with like $1,400 or something, like, so she's like, okay, let's just hope.
Yeah, he's dead or in jail.
Yeah, and I come back, obviously super skinny. I've just been like doing heaps of cardio and like not really eating. So I come back like 65 kilos or something.
It's
and
funny how that works, huh?
Yeah, and then I survived that, and she come back, and I think she was expecting me to go to university after, because originally I wanted to go to uni, and she told me I wasn't allowed to go.
Wow.
I said, I'm going to go be a surveyor. I want to be a geological surveyor. And she said, I paid a lot of money to go to private school, and then you kind of drank and smoked and did all the wrong things and got suspended. Every camp you went on, you did something, like a girl or smoked some weed or something, and you just got in trouble.
Right.
So she's like, I'm not going to pay for uni, because at uni they don't stop you from doing that.
Right.
So what I'm going to do, like, rack up a $60,000 uni bill for my son to get a degree, and he's probably not going to get it because he's just going to rage. And then I come back from the first trip, and she's like, what are you doing now? I'm like, well, I've just got to save money to go back to Yosemite. I'm a rock climber now. Like, this is my life.
Oops.
And so for the first few years, she was like, okay, well, maybe we've not nailed this.
Right.
And then sort of continued, and then, like, wasn't much longer that the industrial thing happened.
Right.
And it probably took till I was mid-20s for them to realize that, like, wow, he's actually going to turn this into something.
He'd found a path.
And now they're like, okay, he's legit at what he does.
Yeah.
And now they're super stoked. But, like, it took some progression. And it took that for them to grow at the same time. I definitely...
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That's kind of awesome, though. I mean, it's I find that the people that have the hardest time finding that path are usually the ones that grip onto it so solidly and have everybody behind them. I mean, I had a couple of friends when I was growing up that always wondered what I was up to, but never worried about me. And I asked them, and they're like, dude, clearly you're going to be okay with whatever shit you figure out and try and do. You're going to be fine. It might not be what we'd pick, but we're never worried about you. You know, parents are a little bit different.
Yeah, my parents are very, very, like, they grew up in a small town. My dad grew up on a farm. My mum grew up to an immigrant German father, and, like, they've always been people that went after it, and we traveled young, so I kind of had, like, some inkling on travel. But, like, real free life that most of our friends experience.
Sure.
They're only really getting there now, I guess. And I think at the start they were like, oh.
Yeah, well, it's so off the beaten path and so out of the norm that people just assume that you're fucking up. Clearly, you're not doing what everybody else is doing, so something's really wrong. And even if you're actually succeeding in it, it's still something's wrong. You know, I had somebody the other day call me a wild turkey, which I thought was the funniest fucking thing ever. I'm like, wild turkey?
I'm a glass of bourbon.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, and she went on to just say, no, you were always going to do whatever the fuck you wanted to do, regardless of, you know, what the social norms were. And at first I was kind of a little bit insulted by that. And then I went, oh no, that's right.
No,
yeah.
My parents are amazing, and even though they didn't understand it, they believed enough for the start, and now they're fully supportive. Like,
awesome.
Awesome. They had enough trust that it's going to be all right. But for sure, I definitely gave them some worries.
Yeah,
probably mid-20s, I think, is when they started being like, okay, he's got this. Like, whatever path he's chosen, we don't understand it, but I think he's onto it.
I think it was mid-30s before mine gave me that. Yeah. But, you know, I think I finally figured out that at least my mom for sure had faith in that I was, you know, at least going to be able to take care of myself when she showed up to take pictures.
They just couldn't believe that I kept making money.
Yeah.
They were like,
exactly.
Fucking hell. How, like, I remember sitting there and, like, I paid tax one year, and my mum was like, oh, what'd you turn over this year? And she was like, it was like the first year I might have earned more money than her. My mum's a very good professional woman,
right.
And, like, she's always made good money. And I was like, this is my income.
Yeah.
She's like, shit, this is working. And I remember seeing her face when we went to the accountant, just being like, yeah, okay.
Yep.
All right, this is a real thing.
I think that kind of was the same thing with my family when I bought a house in Vegas being a fucking stripper. And they're like, well, wait a second.
Yeah, exactly.
You bought a house?
You're showing your wang to people? And
yeah.
They're like, you bought a house on this?
Yeah. You're just taking your pants off for a living? That's what you do for money? And you're actually not just feeding yourself, but you bought a house.
Yeah. And, like, because I'm like... I like to express myself a lot, so I am kind of a little bit loose, and so, like, I don't think it took a little while that they were like, eventually it's just going to erupt whatever he's doing, but
right,
just constantly, like, opening my mind and
Sure.
and getting to where I needed to be.
But you seem to be one of the ones that's found that balance, though. I mean, because I've met you in multiple situations, and some wild and crazy, and some very stable. And I mean, sitting here having the conversation now, you're an extremely articulate guy. You clearly know what's going on, but you're willing to. You have the will to be weird.
Yeah, and like I'm like actually a very, very rational person, and I choose like the weirdness. I really like awkward situations, and like I like to be uncomfortable.
Really? Why?
Because I think you grow in discomfort.
Sure.
And
Well, but all right. So define uncomfortable. Like, are we talking socially uncomfortable, physically uncomfortable, or all the above? Really?
Yeah, like yeah, like I think you really learn about people, and this is what base jumping is great, right? Like you're always putting people in out of their comfort zone.
Sure. Yeah.
So like I think probably like 100 years ago, people like us had to go to war and shit to go through, for real, right?
Yeah,
like,
I agree.
And now like we are like animals.
Yeah.
We're predators, we're hunters, gatherers, we're all of these things.
Yeah.
And like now we don't have those things. So we have to like stimulate ourselves to have the same
Oh yeah.
emotions
Oh,
and
yeah.
things like that. So I've always wanted to drive forward, and I'm super efficient. So like I really like as soon as I decide on something, I need to do A, B, C, and D. And I definitely have some sort of focus thing.
Sure.
With me, I don't know if it's like the attention sort of.
Well, ADD tends to have people hyper-focused too, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, I'm not actually diagnosed or anything. Like I went through my childhood, I had a great childhood, nothing abnormal. I just think like I'm a little bit on.
I think we all are to some degree.
Tiny bit of that spectrum
Sure.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And so when I like focus on something, I go like uber into it.
Hyper-focused, yeah.
And for sure, that's what Micah saw in me when he wanted to bring me here.
Sure.
And, like he's for sure in that same.
Well, come on, you spot the same tribe for
Yeah, right.
sure.
Yeah.
You definitely, let me top you up there. You definitely spot people with similar tendencies, and I think that's one of the reasons that skydivers have so much in fucking common. Because whether you're a cop or a criminal, a lawyer, or a bag boy, because we've been drawn to this sport, we've been drawn to it, whether it's base jumping or skydiving for very specific reasons. I think. Yeah.
So yeah, just that's sort of how it all began, and then as you get older and more driven, you want to like obviously do something real as well.
Right.
Like work-life balance is a real thing.
Yeah.
And it's expensive to do the things that I do. So like,
Oh shit.
I know I've always been pretty good at sort of working out how to make the money to fund that because.
So now you did oil and how the fuck did you? So you got into oil and gas basically because you decided to go climb up rocks and it lent itself to this niche for work.
Exactly, very niche. So rope access is they call it twin rope access. Industrial climbing is a thing that they use to get to places when you can't do scaffolding or
Sure.
approach it with cranes and boxes and different stuff. And on oil rigs, it's obviously in the middle of the ocean, so it's awkward to get there.
Right.
And it's not about the access. So if you can be a really good climber, it doesn't really matter. It's what you can do at the end of the rope that's
Sure.
important. So then I was very, very cluey early on. I went to Scotland, and that's where, in the North Sea, where oil and gas was created 40
Sure.
years ago. And that stuff's been going on for a long time. So I was really lucky that I met a Scottish guy, Don Gibbons, in Melbourne, doing a shutdown. They call it a shutdown when they turn off the whole machine.
Sure.
And then you do a full inspection. Like it's kind of like servicing your car.
Okay.
So I did one of them in like 2008, and they were paying like $600-700 a day
Sure.
to go to the thing. And I was like 23 years old. I'm like, suddenly you're paying me like $4,000 a week to
Right.
do this thing. And I just went to the team leader at the end, who was Scottish. I said, how do I continue to earn this
Sure.
money?
Sure.
And he went, fly to Scotland tomorrow and I'll have a job for you. And like, I'm a person that believes people. So
Yeah.
I like a month later booked a ticket and was like, fuck yeah, I'm going. And he was like, sweet. He found me a friend to stay at the house, Scott Burnett.
Sure.
I stayed at this guy's house. I got there, and then the day I got there, the GFC hit.
No shit.
So I rocked up, and so the first 3 months, like my parents were like, wow, he's committing to
Right.
this. This is the start of them believing. So I
Right,
get there
right.
and like all of a sudden it turns to shit. So maybe he hasn't nailed this. So I'm there and I've flown over there with no money,
Right.
and I've started to like look into work and it's just not happening because GFC hit. No, all the budgets have been pulled off the oil rigs. They're like,
Right.
okay, we'll do less inspection maintenance this year.
Right.
And next year when the budget's back. So I get there as nothing happening. And at that point, I was a level 2 rope access worker.
Right.
So I'm like, shit, so I was like, fuck, I need to make this work. And I had like 2,500 hours. It's kind of like you log hours, the same you log jumps.
Sure.
So I had like 2,500 hours, and you need 2,000 hours to become a level 3. If you're a level 3, you're a bit of a unicorn. You can
Gotcha.
They
Write your own ticket.
Yeah, you're a CI at the drop zone or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I get there, and they're only hiring the big dogs. And I'm like, fuck, I need a level 3. So I'm like, call mum. I'm like, I need £700 to go do this level 3 course, and then I'll definitely get work. But now she's thinking I'm overcommitting.
Sure.
She's like, oh, you want more money? And I'm like, look, trust me.
Right.
So I go into there. I walk in, I've paid. I walk in the thing. He looks at my logbook, and he's like, okay, so you got 2,500 hours, but 1,800 is level 1, and you actually need 1,000 out of 2,500. You need 1,000 as level 2 to progress. And I was like, And I was like, so I can't do this. He's like, no. So I walked out the office. I'm like, look, I can't do this course. Is there any other courses I can do? Because I've got a credit there,
Right.
And I'm like, sure, you can do this magnetic particle. And we do it in aviation. You know what that is, right?
Yeah.
Doing the scans and the dipenetrant on
Sure.
the aviation parts.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, we've got this mag particle course. Do you want to do that? I'm like, fuck it. I've got the money. Like, mum's going to be pissed.
Right.
But at least it's another skill.
Sure.
I'll level up.
Right.
So I level up. I come out, and then still not enough. GFC is just smashing. So I go in my logbook. Sorry, Irada. I fudged the logbook and I changed the hours back. I had enough experience, but the dates were wrong.
Right.
It's like, it's bullshit.
Sure.
So like, I fudge the books. I go back in. I get the level 3. Boom, £10,000 in a month.
Jesus.
And I'm like, obviously now 4 months have gone by. Mum and Dad are expecting me to fly home with my tail between my legs in a minute. And I'm like, just cashed in, Mum. I'm fucking sending. She's like, no way. You know what I
Paying
mean?
her back.
Yeah, and she's like, holy shit, like, and that's always been me. If I have a goal, it's not done till it's done.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
after it. So I got after it. I started a company in the UK called AFOG, the Anti-Ferret Organisation.
Anti-ferret.
I got bitten by a ferret that year, and they were like, name your business. And I was like, I fucking hate ferrets. I couldn't think. I was like, what am I going to do? Like, grainy inspection or whatever. I was like, AFOG, Anti-Ferret Organisation. Just like, I know, I was like,
why not?
At a party, got bitten by a ferret. Like, fucking, like, making up shit as I go along. So I start this company, and then boom, I probably make like £80,000 in a year or something. And then I'm just flying back and forth, doing my jumping. Micah meets me and he's like, what the fuck are you doing on oil rigs? You should be training.
Right.
Like, why aren't you just skydiving full time? I'm like, because I don't skydive, I'm a base jumper. That shit's gay. And he's like, you need to change your mindset.
Yeah, who needs planes, right?
Yeah, right. And like, because that was the original base jumper mentality.
Yeah, for sure.
It was either like, there was the guys like JMO that came across, but the rest of us didn't
Oh
have
yeah,
money
it was
for
very
that.
separated, very much so.
So
And speaking as a skydiver, when all that was going on, you guys were the Lunatic Fringe. It was the what do you mean they don't fucking skydive? And and I think what started to change my mind was Nick Martinez and Evo and all of them.
Yeah.
Because I watched them do this and then figured out who they were and saw the dedication.
the knowledge of the mountains is equally important.
Damn right.
Yeah, and like that's the thing where I've been trying to bridge with you guys from here. Is like with the Matt and Nick, they don't have a lot of mountain experience. So the first seasons, like showing them how to hike out and do weird stuff, like that's where the connection came.
Sure,
like everyone had something to bring to the table, kind of thing.
So now you've had. So how many base jumps do you have now?
I'm not a very good logger, but about 900.
It's a lot of fucking base jumps.
It is, and like back in the day, 100 was a lot.
Yeah. Oh shit! Back in the day, 1 was a lot.
But like when me and Micah hooked up, the first season. Like he was there with Shaney and like Craig Gerard and the whole wingsuit team, but Micah had like 30 base jumps, so he's like, we need to smash numbers because he's a skydiver, 6-8 a day, right?
Yeah.
Like, So when they train for the wingsuit team, it was always 6 jumps. So I was like, okay, we need to start pumping numbers. That's no problem. And there's a jump called Via Ferrata in Lauterburn, where it's a gondola and a 5-minute walk. It's one of the best jumps there. So we'd stay in the same place. We'd wake up in the morning at 6 a.m. We'd have a pitcher of coffee already in the fridge. We'd wake up at 6 a.m., walk to the fridge together, and just like hold a jug of coffee. And like in our underwear, in the light of the thing, because we didn't wake up Shaney,
All right.
So we'd be necking this pitcher of coffee, just handing it to each other. We'd get to the first gondola at 6:30. We'd do 6 jumps, be back at 1 p.m. We'd sit down because we need a rest.
Right.
Like, and to back there, it's like 10-minute pack jobs. So it's 30 minutes between each gondola. So you walk up, jump, land, pack in 10 minutes, get back next gondola, smash it out. In 6 hours, you can do 6 jumps.
Jesus Christ.
We'd smash that, go back to the villa, hang out, smoke all day, get totally baked.
Of course.
Because Shaney was hanging out with Craig Gerard,
Right.
just doing fun jumps.
Right.
And then we'd catch them on the last 2 loads at like 4 p.m. So we'd do 8 every day, doing like 60, 70
Sure.
in a month, maybe 100 sometimes. So like there was a year there with Micah where I punched out a lot of numbers.
I mean,
So-
it almost sounds normal to me. It
well,
almost
it was a
sounds.
skydiving mentality for base jumping.
Yeah, very, very much so. I mean, that sounds like a typical training day for jumping, for skydiving.
All of the base jumpers were like, what the fuck are these 2 mental people doing?
Yeah.
But
I mean,
we were like,
that's-
Micah's like, no, we hold hands, we link, and we pack fast, and we like send it.
Wow.
And,
Well,
like-
and he was such a fucking unique
Oh,
soul.
it's just total
anyway.
savage.
I
He's
mean,
amazing.
Oh, yeah.
He's like a unicorn.
It was funny. I had at one point walked up to him and I'm like, hey, I was kind of toying around with the idea of learning how to wingsuit and blah blah blah, and going out to the other drop zone and training for that. And he's like, fuck that, dude. I got a suit and we can find you a rig and I'll teach you how. And of course, the suit was way too much for a first jump and all this,
Yep.
but he was convinced he could have me dialed in. And knowing him, he would have.
The thing is, Micah had because he could progress that fast, he
Yeah.
expected everyone else to.
Oh yeah.
Like Micah was a very good coach for progressing fast, but he didn't like to do things slow. So like when I arrived here, he would just throw me in the tunnel
Yeah.
for an hour straight, glory days where like he
Sure.
was working, and he just put me in there for an hour, and like he's like in like 3 hours has me like dynamic flying head down, and like then all of a sudden I try and do the fundamentals,
Right.
and with other coaches, and they're like, shit, you can't fly for crap.
Yep.
But like put it on full speed and like let me charge, and like they're like, holy shit, you're flying full dynamic lines.
Yeah.
So he'd skip steps because that's how he learnt.
Sure.
And, that's why I progressed so fast
I think
after
that's
that.
how his brain worked too.
No, totally. Like it's hard to keep up with someone that's that fast.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But the funny thing was, for somebody as driven as he was and as talented as he was, he could also slow it down and had the biggest fucking heart.
Oh, dude, he just adopted me, bro. He's my best friend.
I had a good friend to a lot of people at the drop zone, and a really close friend of mine for a bunch of years. A guy by the name of Zach had passed away, and I think Micah was one of the first people to spot me on the drop zone, either the next day or the day after, first day I had flown again, and made a beeline 100 meters away. We loved him too, and gave me this big hug that I didn't want because I knew I was going to break down like a fucking 4-year-old. But that was Micah. He
Yeah.
just has such a big heart. He wouldn't let anybody be hurting if he could avoid it.
No, his whole goal when I came here was to make me a real skydiver, and like most of the things, he did everything he said he was going to do. He's gone to fucking space, all of the shit. Like it sucks that he
Right?
had to pass away for it to happen, but he called it.
Yeah,
like
he's
he
there.
Did, and like he brought me here and was like he threw me in that tunnel, and like he beat the shit out of me for a long time,
Sure.
bro. But like
Sure.
in a very quick space, he brought me to a place where I could at least keep up, and I owe him everything. for
Yeah,
sure,
no doubt, no doubt. Now back to your progression in base jumping, and you had your wall strike and the broken ulna in the first season.
I took some time after that, and then I came back to it. This is like way before Micah. This is 2011. I think 2012. I had the wall strike.
Okay.
I met Micah in 2014, and I'd gotten back to like being a good two-piece tracker. I learnt the suit, not tracking.
Yeah.
So like for a while there, I had a lot more two-piece tracking jumps than most people, because at the time I was working offshore in the UK, so I could like be there for most seasons and,
Sure.
and pack it. So I probably had like 300 two-piece tracking jumps, and when Micah arrived, he's like, holy shit, you're like hammering that suit, and like he's in Mactoom and I'm out tracking him, so
Right.
he's like, teach me the suit. And at the time he had a what the fuck, I lost the name, Jeff, not Provenzano, the other one, Jeff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, he was making the suits. The guys,
Yeah,
yeah, he was making those suits, and he was flying a prototype, and we were having these great grunt jumps together. And he's like, "Sweet, so we need to like learn how to like track properly, and then we can go further."
Sure.
So at that point, he was like, "Let's start wingsuiting." I was like, "Cool." So I went and did my first wingsuit jump with Renee Terstegen
Okay.
at Brento. I did one wingsuit jump, and then Noah asked Micah to join the wingsuit team after Mactoom kind of fell apart.
Right.
So Micah's like, I'm a wingsuiter now. But me and him had like maybe a handful of wingsuit jumps, and I had one.
Right.
And we rocked up to the tryouts for the World Wingsuit League.
Okay.
Because obviously Julian and Noah are winning everything
Yeah,
at that
yeah,
point.
yeah,
And
for sure.
And him and Greg, I think Greg had a fair few.
Yeah.
And Noah was like the baby in the group.
Right.
Micah was the baby in the group, sorry. So we rocked up there and we're like, we want to participate in the World Wingsuit. And they're like, what? You guys have got like, Micah's got like maybe 50 base jumps.
Right.
And he's obviously a sick wingsuit pilot. And like, you've got like 400, but like, you've got no business being here. I remember them saying like, oh, you've got to have this many wingsuit base jumps to be here. And then Micah just screaming out in the pre-briefing, being like, oh, what are you talking about? I got like 36. And we're like, Micah, shut the fuck up. You got to be kidding me. So we ended up opening the event and putting in like 6 times. So they wouldn't let us actually try out, but they would let us test wins.
Okay.
So me and Micah have just like, we've just held hands for like the last 80 base jumps. And they're like, you two can do a linked exit. We went to the pool and just did like 500 wingsuit base jumps, exits into the pool. And then we rocked up and had like the best exits out of the whole crew. And Micah got a sick time. I was still in a Phantom, so I like just plowed through the sky and like stuffed it. But we were in Voss and the whole squad was there and we partied pretty hard and hung out with Shemi, and there was a bunch of really cool crew there, like Shani Perro, and it was just a great fucking trip. And at the end, as everyone went to the airport, they were like, "Hey Ryan, you're moving." Like, is this a question or like, no? You are. Yeah,
it was a statement.
And Noah was just like, "Yeah, you're gonna live at my house."
Awesome.
Yeah, so
awesome.
That's sort of how it sort of happened there.
Now you started out season 1 with an injury that took you out for a year. Gave you a little pause for thought as well. You're just coming off a recent injury as well.
Yeah, so I had 8-year gap. I went back to it so I finished last year was shit. Like after Micah died, I kept jumping flat out, and Matt and Nick were doing their first really good season.
Sure.
And they started like we were jumping, and Russell came in before I left. They started doing their flippy doos and their crazy head down stuff, and I knew they had it. But it just felt to me like it was happening again.
Sure.
So we had with the 3 of us traveled together, and I was like not enjoying it a lot, but I was going and sending a lot of big exits with them, but I wasn't having fun. I was getting down and like I wasn't even smiling at the end of jumps. And I had a chat with Nick, and I was like, I think I'm done. I think I'm finished with base. But I hadn't really addressed how I felt about Micah dying. And it's only been recently that I feel like I'm getting to the point that I've let that go. So 2018 season, I didn't have a lot of fun with them, and they were having a great time, and I knew I was bumming them out.
Sure.
Because they were like really charging and doing a really great job.
Right.
But I was like hating on it a bit because it scared me.
Well, yeah, you think you're staring down the barrel of another loss.
Yeah, and I was just like, shit, So like, it wasn't really working for me, and I was like, maybe this is it. Maybe like I've done my bit and it's over. And then started having a couple fun jumps. We went to Turkey as a group with Vitor, and then it wasn't just wingsuiting. It was like all ranges of things. And like, I'm a base jumper more than a skydiver. So when it was like all of the aspects of base jumping, I was in my zone.
Sure.
And like I got happy again.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can work through this. And then I spoke to Shani a little bit and started to work through some of the emotions. Like she's just a rock. She's she's more evolved. She was more evolved on it than I was, and which is surprising, being his wife.
Sure.
So I like when she gave me a little bit of perspective on like how it really was, I was like, okay, I think
you can't not come face to face with that kind of strength and walk away going whoa, because that's a level of strength and dedication to a lifestyle and choices and decisions that I don't think I can fathom. It's one of the reasons that I'm not a base jumper.
I still don't get it. But I also know like other people that have had husbands and wives die in swooping accidents and stuff, and like you got to make a choice whether or not you still want to be involved in parachute sports, right?
Well, and there's even, and I'm sure maybe you had it in base jumping and I had it in skydiving, but at every point a jumper, whether it's base or skydiving, comes to that point where they have to decide, is this who I am or was I a tourist?
Yeah.
And it's usually the fatality of a close friend, or you were there for something really bad and you have to go, oh, fuck, this is actually who I am. You know, for the rest of them, skydiving was something they used to do back then.
Yeah,
or base jumping.
So that sort of continued, and then this is like, so last year, so Micah was in 2017.
Mm.
In the 2018 summer season, I was struggling. And then I continued in, and I was partying more. You could tell I was deteriorating a little bit. Like the partying was becoming more, and I was like not dealing with stuff. So it continued further.
That was a direct result of Micah?
I think I didn't really grieve until maybe a year later.
Okay.
And then so like it started to come out, and I was like not paying the respect to what I was doing very much and being very complacent and just running on instinct. And then I went through the whole season, and another person died, G. Will, a close friend, and I was there for that one. And I've managed to skip it for the whole time. Like, I've never been there. Like, my first mentor, Alex Duncan, I left the day before. When Polly died, I left the day before. I've never been there for it, which is, it multiplies. When you have to deal with the family and all that stuff, it gets really, really a lot more. When you can just pretend it didn't happen, it's a lot easier to, like, we're men, we just shelve it.
Yeah.
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 So at the end of 2018, I started to... I've always been a very functional person that liked to party, and then I started to maybe abuse, not use.
Sure.
And it spiraled a little bit. I started putting on a lot of weight. I wasn't eating well. I didn't have a good nutrition. I definitely wasn't taking enough water. And as the season built on, it got crazier and crazier and crazier. And then I had to deal with Grill's family, and it was hectic. And then, so I was like, I'm going to fly home and see Mum and Dad for Christmas. And that was September 2018, last year. Went home, chilled out for a bit, and then I was like, I'm going to go do the base boogie in the Blue Mountains in Australia. And I've always wanted to go. I've never jumped a lot in Australia, and I know that it's a very technical jumping environment, and I think I just assumed I had it, and I rocked up there, and I think everyone that I was jumping with assumed I had it because of my experience. But in Europe, you don't jump stuff like that. It's out of my skill set. Those guys are really technical jumpers, and like they have a special skill set that no one in Europe has. We all land in grass, beautiful grass in Europe the whole time. These guys are landing in tight landing areas, which we're all capable of doing, but it is different. Sinking in, a lot of half break stuff, which I'm just not that good at. And then I had a couple of bad jumps, but I was like drinking a lot every night, and I just was being complacent. And it wasn't even a bad crash that I had, but I just cooked this jump, dude. I just can't even explain it to this day, because I feel like I can still do what I was doing, but whatever happened, I had a bad landing. I came in, let the canopy surge, and thought I had it, then just had this surge and forward speed, and I couldn't stop the forward speed, and I just landed against this boulder, and it just was an undulating rock. And both feet, I was like, okay, I'm going to PLF here. You know, so I slammed a big flare in, put my feet right out in front of me, lifted my knees up, put my feet into it, stood it up, and was like, oh, I've rolled my ankle really bad. Yeah, shit. I was like, dude, okay, I just took my container off and I walked off. I was like, guys, grab my shit. It's going to take a while to get back to the car for me. I'm super bummed. Walked up. It was New Year's Eve. Got to the car. They had a moon boot in the car because everyone gets broken in Australia. So I put the moon boot on. New Year's Eve kicked off. Took a disco biscuit and an endone and got on with the night. Mate, I got a cooler with ice, filled it with water and ice. I put that on a skateboard and was dancing on the D floor with it. It was ridiculous. So I was meant to fly back here on the 2nd of January. Pick up all my stuff, move to Switzerland. That was the game. And then my mum was like, just get a scan, you retard. You for a smart guy, you're a spastic. Mum's just slapped me in the face, you know. And
I like Mum.
Yeah, she's like, just at least know what's happening before you leave. So I was like, cool. And got a scan, and this is a sports doc that I've been going to since I was playing high-level sports when I was 15. So I know this guy for 20 years, you know. And he's called me 15 minutes later, and he's like, Ryan, your foot's not even really attached. You've got skin and juice around it, but inside is shit, you know.
Jesus Christ.
So I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, he knows me real good, you know. So he's looked at me. He's got pictures of me from when I'm 15 years old. When I'm ripped as fuck.
Right.
And he's like, okay, Ryan, so you're 35 now. What are your expectations to come back from this? And I was like, well, I'm not a professional athlete, but like I still earn my money from using my body. I'm a
Yeah.
tandem instructor, so like still need to have like you're going to have a hard landing.
Oh yeah. It's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's a part of it. So like, yeah, I need to be at like full tilt. And he just looked at me, and was like, he made me look in a mirror, and was like, Ryan, I'm gonna be really honest with you, like, how much do you weigh right now? Put me on the scale. It's like 82.7 kilos, and he's like. Oh.
For your size, I mean, for those that don't know,
I'm currently 69.
Yeah, for your frame to weigh as much as I do, that's a lot.
Oh, dude, like and it was mainly fluid. It wasn't even weight.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't fat. It was like I'd just been drinking so much and smoking so much that it was just fluid retention, you know. And he was like, "Okay, bro." So he got a whiteboard out. It was really cool. He's like, "Okay, so when you land a canopy, there's this much Newton force on your foot. When you land a canopy hard." And this much weight, the curve goes right up.
Hell yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I understand science, bro. Stop being a dick. Just being a total, like, because I'm still, like...
In denial.
Yeah, and he's like, because I'd already planned on having sober January because I knew it had ballooned.
Right.
You know? And I was like, I'm going to have some... Because I'm always pretty good with my drug and alcohol use.
Sure.
I do wind it in.
Yeah.
Like, I have a very good balance, even though it's probably more to the fun part. But he was like, okay, if you want to get back sooner, you need to lose some weight. Now, by looking at your skin, you've been drinking too much, and you definitely are smoking a lot. And I was like, yeah, both of those things are happening. And he's like, okay, so if you lose 5 kilos, we can reduce months off it. Now, I'm a savage with training. So I was like, 5 kilos. I'll lose that dancing on cocaine in a night. I'll go there, just not drink any water and just charge. It's like, I'll do that in a moon boot. Like, fuck off. Like, I can 5 kilos. You're shit. Like,
Piece of cake.
and this is all in my head. So he's like, do you drink at the moment? I'm like, nah, because I had 6 days off. It was 6th of January. I've already said I'm having sober
There you
January.
go.
He's like, do you smoke? I'm like, no, mate. Like, and he's like, but I'm an alcoholic that's got a total weed problem. So yeah, this is going to be a challenge. And like, so I was like, okay, changes need to be made. So I'm going to have sober January, and then we'll see how we go. And I remember like looking in my mum and dad's eyes, and there was belief, but also concern.
Mm.
And I was like, everyone's expecting me to fuck the dog here so hard.
Sure.
Which for me is just like a challenge.
Mm.
I was like, fuck these guys. I'm going to be amazing. So I went 75 days without any drugs or alcohol, not even painkillers. I was like, fuck these things off. I'm going for it.
Nice.
I lost like 8 or 9 kilos in the first month. Went to the doctor and he's like, oh, you're looking great. And I was like, I'm not done. You said every kilo I get a month off. I'm a savage. So I was really cool. This guy called Ollie Dessette. He's everyone should look him up at Ollie Dessette. He's he lost his leg in Bali last year. He's a professional surfer, big wave surfer. He got hit by a cement truck on a Vespa.
Fuck, in Bali.
And lost his leg. Yeah. Lost his leg. He's one of the most inspiring, and like he was best friends with my best friend, but we'd never met. We knew each other, but we never met. And all of a sudden, I get this phone call out of nowhere. Like, we've maybe talking 20th of January. And he's like, I'm sending you a heart rate monitor. We're doing this fitness contest. We're going to go on this fitness contest with ultra-marathon runners, triathletes. There's a couple of gold medalists, Olympians in this thing.
Jesus Christ.
And he's like, all I want you to do is, like, you put the heart rate monitor and it's on max effort. It's not on, like, what you do or anything. Just, like, whatever your heart rate is, there's going to be a percentage on the heart rate.
Sure.
Let's just work hard and get through this. I've gotten through the no leg.
Right.
You can get through this, bro. I got you. Never met the guy.
Wow.
Like, proper human.
That's
like,
pretty awesome.
yeah. So I get after it, dude. I get on thing. I got a bought a medicine ball, and I'm just on my cousin's floor, just pumping out like hour-long core efforts because I can't do a shit, dude. At this point, I can barely walk to the toilet, so I'm just doing these mad core efforts.
Sure.
Pumping out these points. At the end of the month, it's a month-long thing. He wins.
Really?
I come third.
Oh, wow.
But they're all training the way that they should. We are just destroying ourselves to keep up.
Right.
Like, I'm on an assault bike for like 3 hours a day with my moon boot, just fucking going absolute ham, bro. So, like, all of a sudden, like, I'm starting to get to the output of, like, proper professional athletes, and I start to enjoy it. And then all of the Olympians are like, guys, you guys are amazing that you can try that hard, but we need to like shape this a little bit.
Right.
So we
Direction.
yeah, and like this guy right now is surfing Jaws with one leg.
Jeez, he's
No, look him up, dude. I'll show you
fucking
after we're done.
Chopu with one leg.
No, we're talking Maui. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
Jaws.
like Waimea. Like
Jesus.
he's out there with Niccolo Porcello and like all these big wave surfers
With-
surfing 50-foot waves with one leg. He had to get a surfing prosthetic because he kept losing his fucking leg. he wiped out. He have to swim to the bottom at 10 meters and try and find his fucking leg.
Jesus.
The guy is mad as shit.
Jesus, that's awesome.
He went way more savage than I did, but obviously it's more extreme because he lost his leg. So his
Yeah.
reaction to it is twice a bit. But
Of course.
this guy was so filled with love and care for me that he's like, I'm going to get you through this because he's like 8 months ahead of me of going through this emotional process of not being able to be himself.
Right. Yeah.
So for like 9 months, I just got this legless dude calling me a bitch, basically. I mean, like every time I try and like back off, it's like I still have a leg.
Right.
I got nothing to argue
Right.
about.
Right.
So then, like, the first 3 or 4 months, it was pretty disjointed training, and then it got really crazy, and I got down, like, I started training for marathons and shit. I'm, like, still considering one. I just did the first 6 week of a marathon
Sure.
prep, and, like, I ran a few 15 and 20K runs, and
It's a fucking hell of a run, man.
yeah, and, like, it became my thing. I'd just wake up, and I'd go to the gym for 3 or 4 hours, because I'm unemployed, and when, like, I basically allocated myself an amount of money for the year to do that, and I didn't want to hang around with my friends. So that's at about March, I decided I was going to become a pilot. I needed to engage my brain while I was healing
Sure.
as well.
Yeah.
So I flew to Townsville, which is 2,000 kilometres from my house. It's like North Queensland, and I decided I was going to be a helicopter pilot. Just because I think helicopters are cool and I had spare money and time. Like it's very
Yeah.
rare that you have free time and money at the same time. Normally you
Right.
have free time and you're poor,
Yep.
or you have money and
In no time. Yep.
So I was like, fuck it, I've got both at the same time. I'd sold my house in December, I'd got a tax exemption. I was lucky that,
Sure.
because I'd be bankrupt right now.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
I've
Those
had-
dominoes fell in the right way.
yeah, like the universe was like, you're being a dick and we're going to slow the world down. Honestly, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
like the universe, because I snapped my Achilles twice.
Jesus.
I did it on New Year's Eve, and 7 weeks later, because I kept saying, I want to be old Ryan again. I want to be old Ryan again. Turns out old Ryan is what got me in trouble in the first time.
Yeah.
And he's a cunt. We don't want old Ryan. We want Ryan 2.0.
Sure.
So 7 weeks later, I snapped it again, trying to ride a bike the day after I got my moon boot off.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm a fucking idiot
Oh,
at best of times. So
Jesus.
the second time I had to sit down and have this mad self-reflection, I was like, shit, I've fucked the dog so bad here. So I was like, I can't be around my friends and family because they have expectations who I am. And even though they're supportive, they expect me to be the same person.
Sure.
And if I want to rebuild, I can't be near them.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you just in regard to that. So you spoke slightly about substance, alcohol, and weed and stuff like that. With alcoholism and with weed, is it an expectation kind of thing, or is it an access kind of thing?
No, I'm super functional, even if I'm doing all of those things.
Sure.
If I get understimulated, I do crazy shit.
Sure.
And like, doesn't mean I don't get all of the right shit done. It just means I don't have enough right shit to do
Sure.
and things. So I was like, maybe I need to, just for health reasons and blood flow, because the heel has no blood flow. So
Sure.
that was the first reason. They told me if you keep doing these things, the blood flow to the heel is going to be it's going to take twice as long. Like you'd have 2
Sure.
years without walking properly.
Oh, Jesus.
So I was like, how quick could I fix it? They're like 9 months if you totally changed right now. And I was
Sure.
like,
So for you, walking away from the booze and the weed and stuff was relatively easy in the addiction side of things.
no,
It
he
was
just said, how attached are you to walking? And I said, very fucking attached.
nice.
And that was enough for me because I'm just like,
Well,
if
but
it's,
you and I know enough people that are the opposite to that would have to struggle over, well, wait a second, I got to put the bottle down, or I got to do this or that, and
I think that's my spectrum coming on. If I'd make a decision, it's done.
good.
Yeah. So it wasn't actually that hard for me, to be honest. The first 75 days, I went completely clean. Had my birthday, I had a little bit of a play, and I, can I say things?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did some Molly on my birthday, but I didn't drink. I had peppermint teas the whole time at the party. Just drinking. Like chicks were coming up to me like, "Can I get you a drink?" Like I know
Sure.
you can't walk to the bar. I'm like, "Yeah, I'd love a cup of tea."
Sure.
And I like. So then the things that I really feel detrimental to me are tobacco
Mm.
and alcohol.
Fucking hey, right?
They're the two things that I could, if I could press a button and never have them again, I would press it.
And it was a very easy decision for me. Alcohol is, for me, I hate the fact that I'm a comfortable casual drinker now.
Yeah, my mum and dad are really cool people. I can take them with my friends any day of the week.
Nice.
And I saw that like the whole crew was outside. So I'm like, let's go outside. The squad's out here. We go out. My mum's a very pragmatic person. She's like me, very planned. I'm definitely more like my mum. And we're sitting there and she's like, so what are we doing on Wednesday? And I said, well, we're actually going to go take LSD and go to the water park. Like after about 30, I made a decision. I'm just not even going to lie. What's the fucking point?
No,
I want to come to family shows and be able to do drugs and like not drink. Like I'm better. I'll dance with my grandma and Molly. I'll be a piece of shit on alcohol. So, So I just said, Mum, this is what I'm going to do. And I knew she heard but didn't listen. So Wednesday comes around, and I'm not going to mention names, but 5 very prominent people here came to my house in Albasha.
Awesome.
And like I made everyone a cup of coffee. It's like 10 a.m. And I kind of thought, you know, like if you're going to go rack a line, you go to the bathroom. Everyone was like, I can't be bothered like fucking having everyone shuffle out to another room. I'm just gonna, I'd already told her, so I just went and poured the bag out and all the squares tipped on the table. I'm like, everyone have a square. And my mum's like, what's that, Ryan? And I was like, it's acid. She's like, I thought you were taking LSD. I'm like, Mum, it's the same fucking thing. She's like, for 10 years, I thought you were taking 2 different drugs.
So that was good news to her.
Yeah, she was like, oh, okay, cool. So we get to the fucking water park, and we're all standing there in the line, and it took longer than we expected. So in the line, I'm like, oh, shit, it's getting deep already. So we get inside, everyone's sweating profusely, and like it's getting a bit much. You know, like, I really need to get in a water slide and refresh.
Right.
We get there, and she's like, all right, everyone put your stuff in the lockers. My mum's a leader. She runs the show. She's a CEO. She's an amazing person.
Right.
She's a great leader. And so everyone puts their stuff in the thing, and then she comes back, and she's like, so how do we know where to go and stuff? And I was like, well, Mum, look, this particular person is the most fun. I think she should choose who gets to go to the first water slide.
Right.
So, and this person's like, but first I want a group hug. So everyone just hugs my mum and dad. All these sweaty trippers are just hugging my mum and dad. And then she's like, well, how do we choose which water slide after that? And like, everyone's like, I think we should share. We'll just go in alphabetical order. So for the rest of the day, and like we get to the first water slide, and there's like the double seats, you know. And I'm like, Mum, I'm feeling a bit uncomfortable. Do you mind doing the water slides with me? And obviously my mum's like, you want a water slide with me? She's like, I want to water. Like, you're my mum. Like, I'm not going to, you're not going to water slide with anyone else, are you? You're like, you're my mum. And she's like, you want to water slide? I'm like, sure, I want to share with you. Like, you're my mum. Like, so she's getting hugs. People are sharing.
She was loving it.
Like, she's like, no, she got to the end and was like, I like trippers. She's like, she hates drunk people. My mum doesn't drink.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck drunk people. My dad had 2 beers at lunch. She's like, Ryan, you got to drive to the restaurant because, like, your dad's been drinking. And I'm like, fucking hell, Mum. I don't think you understand this drug, but sure, I got this. Like, fucking, I'm like Tron driving through, like, Albasha trying to take us to this restaurant. So after that, my mum has actually relaxed a lot. And I think she's actually thinking about going do ayahuasca in Costa Rica now.
Wow.
Yeah, she's progressed a lot. She's had some health problems and has gotten to the CBD. And like she's seen, like, after, like, it's taken her 20 years of watching me smoke weed and hating it.
Sure.
To realise that it actually, like, now people with epilepsy and stuff are getting fixed through this. So, like, I actually helped my mum do her first drug deal last year. She was just trying to buy CBD, but the guy was, like, it's illegal in Australia.
Right.
So it took, like, she had to go to a strange place and do some, and she.
Sure.
So I'm standing there in a tie-dye shirt, and she calls me one day. I'm like at her house. She's like, I tried to do a drug deal and it didn't go right. And I'm like, Mum, like, she's a real estate agent. So I was like, well, whenever I ask when I do some real estate stuff, I ask you because you're an expert. If you want to buy drugs, you should probably call me. So I took my mum on her first drug deal.
Awesome.
And yeah, not actual drugs, CBD.
Yeah.
Yeah, but now she's pretty onto that, and she's She's an advocate for CBD now, for sure.
You know, it's
so
funny.
All of us have progressed from.
Yeah, well, we've been so pre-programmed, you know, and I'm older than you, and probably closer to your mom's generation, and you get it beat into you, you know, your entire life. I grew up with the just say no generation, and you know all this shit in the United States.
And all of a sudden, you realize it's actually healthy for people.
Yeah, well, and I realized on my own doing, you know, Molly and all this stuff in raves that quite frankly the option that I had chosen was dramatically healthier than the drinking and the beer and the this and that and all of this stuff that's taken 30 years for the general public to catch up.
I hope in like I mean, I don't think I'm going to have children, but in the next generation, I feel like alcohol is just going to be seen as a poison.
For sure.
Like the masses, obviously, it's going to continue for a while, but I would say the enlightened half of the population are going to just ditch that. And like, why would you put all of that sugar and all of that fluid into your body when you could like take this tiny micro thing and have a feeling of euphoria that's going to connect you with the species?
That's the thing too. You know, I mean, it's funny again because I never used to be a drinker, and now I'm very much a casual drinker and enjoy. And I use the word enjoy because that's the word you expected to use. I'm not.
I enjoy the feeling, but the post, like if I have one beer, I won't train the next day. If I stay up till 4 a.m. on Molly, I'll have a 4-hour sleep and get up and crank in the gym.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just go and stretch, and I'll get there, and all of a sudden I've ran for 95 minutes. I've done an hour and a half of gym. I'm fucking pumped as fuck. I come out, my endorphins are massed.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, back in the day, it was I had a friend that wasn't involved in the party scene at all when we were promoting raves, and he asked the sideways question. He's all, "How come all the ravers I see are in such good shape?" And my
dance for 6 or 7 hours a night, bro. They're cranking.
I drink nothing but water. I dance all night long, and at the end of the day, drugs work much better on a healthy body than they do on a fat, shitty one. So.
Well, this is funny. I used to say before I like spiraled with the emotional problem with Micah and other people, was like. People are like, why are you training so hard? I'm like, because then I can do drugs harder.
Sure.
And then what do you mean? I'm like, if I'm fitter, I can smash it, hit the dance floor all night, and I haven't exceeded my cardio output that I would normally think.
Right.
I'll wake up in the morning, I smash a liter of water, I'm like, let's rage. Let's go pump some arms. Let's do back.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll train.
Oh no, and again, that's I hate to say it, but especially at my age now, having lived the life that I've lived at 50, I wake up after having had too many drinks the night before, and I'm just disappointed in myself.
Yeah, totally. I get the anxiety.
Oh yeah,
dude, I actually get an anxiety after if I drink more than 6 beers now. I get an anxiety the next day, which is just not healthy.
When I was partying hardcore and promoting the rave stuff, never once did I have to say, all right, I got to take this next week off because I'm going too big. But I can't even count how many times since being a drinker for the last 15 years or so I've gone, ooh, I should probably take some time off.
Yeah.
That just doesn't happen with any of the other substances that I've ever used because, quite frankly, they don't lend themselves, at least the ones that I did, never lent themselves to using way too much.
The only thing that I don't want to ditch, like, and this is what the big thing is, like belief systems, right? So, for many, many years after being in Europe, I kind of believed that you couldn't smoke marijuana, like, because I mean, 50-50s, right? You just smoke like half tobacco, half weed, and I went to strangely enough, a Tony Robbins course. My mum works. My mum works for Tony Robbins.
Does she? Yeah. Really?
So, like, I went to my first Tony Robbins course when I was, like, 18 years old or some shit.
He's something else.
I know, I don't really get into the American rah-rah bar, but, like, he's a very, very, very interesting person, and I enjoy going to the events. My mum's right up to it, so I've grown up with a Tony Robbins trainer my whole life.
Right.
Probably why I'm so productive most of the time. But for the most part, I kind of hate the American bullshit that's associated with it. You know,
I both.
Yeah, right. It's a bit much, but the message is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like it's like anything. Like I like the message in the Bible, but it's fucked.
Sure.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Just gotta have a filter.
Yeah. And like straight up, I have the filter. I arrive at the events and I know the program now, so I will see the bits that I want.
Right.
And then I'll just go fuck off and do whatever I want. But yeah, like the reality is you have more energy when you relate to people like that and don't have toxins in your body.
Sure.
And those guys have got it totally sent, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, do what you're going to do for sure. And
so I believed, this is the crazy part, I'm sorry I lost myself to it, is like that I couldn't smoke weed without tobacco. But that's because I was a tobacco smoker that put weed in every cigarette. Right? So this is the one thing I don't want to give up now. I actually really like to smoke, but only straight marijuana now. I've come to Azerbaijan, and everyone, obviously there's not enough marijuana in this place to actually just smoke straight marijuana.
Sure.
And it's been a little bit of a challenge here, and I've treated this place like a holiday this time. But as soon as I leave here, I'm in a country where I can just smoke straight weed. I like to get high. It's better than taking anti-inflammatories.
Yeah.
and I do like it. If I could be in a country like America where you could get a vape pen,
Sure.
and I don't have to smoke tobacco, I would only smoke shatter
Sure.
or something like that.
Sure.
But like, it's just not possible where I am right now. But as soon as I get back to Europe, the only drug that I will keep is straight marijuana.
Sure. Well, and unfortunately for me, I'm a horrible stoner. I'm not a marijuana fan for personal
It
reasons.
suits different people.
It just doesn't work for me. You know, people use it for relief of pain and all this different stuff. And the few times that I've smoked marijuana to try and get rid of pain, it made me focus on the pain even more.
No, and like I was always one of those smokers, but for me now, and the weird part is, I'm always previously, historically, a wake and baker. But if I don't smoke tobacco, I don't get the tobacco alarm, and I won't even smoke marijuana till like 2 p.m. Like I'd go to the gym at 8 a.m., work out till 12 because I've been unemployed the whole time. Like when I was injured, I treated healing as my full-time job.
Sure.
That was what I said. I'm like, I'm a amateur professional athlete. That's what I was telling my mum. She's like, when she's like, because her friends were like, "What are you doing now, Ryan?" I'm like, "I'm an amateur professional athlete."
And they'll be like, their head.
"What?" I'm like, "Yeah, like, well, I don't have a job, but I've got a lot of money, so I just wake up every morning, work out, and then just after lunch, I've done 4 hours working out. I can just choose to do things."
Sure.
And it wouldn't even I get home, do a protein shake, make some like an egg wrap or something,
Right.
And it wouldn't be till way after. But historically, because of the tobacco, I would have smoked.
Sure.
Because the alarm bell goes.
Of course.
But I was just a cigarette smoker. It's bullshit. Like I'd made up a lie in my own head, and this is the belief system that I actually exonerated at the Tony Robbins thing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So now moving forward, overcoming injury, overcoming all this stuff, having kind of pushed back into the sport that you initially fell in love with in base jumping after Micah and the soul searching involved in something like that. Where do you see yourself going from now? I mean, I know you're back into flicking stuff.
Yeah, so I'm jumping a lot at the moment. I came back here and I'm kind of running out of money because I've had a really good time spending money on doing helicopter hours and shit. It's like it's hard at 35, even if you've made some money, to take 15 months off. It's a long time.
Yeah.
But I came back here with a budget and I did 25 jumps. I started off with some free fly jumps and then went into some wingsuit jumps, and then I went and did my tandem recertification. After here, I'm flying to Finland to go to Lapland with my family to go take my sister's kids to Father Christmas. It's gonna be pretty rad.
Nice.
And then I'm just gonna do tandems in Europe.
Okay.
Hopefully some piloting.
Cool.
Continue the hours going like that. My plan is next year to Australia has a kind of like student loan thing going on for aviation school, so I can go back and can finish my CPL next year.
Awesome.
I'll crack that, and ideally, my goal is in the next 18 months to have a half flying tandem.
That's
kind
awesome.
of role. You know how the guys are doing that, like
it's so fucking cool, and this is one of the things that for somebody like me, it's a little bit of validation watching all these badasses that have been, hitting towards the peak in the sport, whether it be base jumping or skydiving and all this, starting to slide towards flying.
It's progression, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so I started hiking, then I started using the plane, and then I want to fly the plane. It's just the progression of aviation, right?
And it's amazing. Well, and watching you do it, Noah and Greg and all these people that have
Noah's cranking right now,
right?
He's
going fucking balls out, man. I mean,
he called me when I was hurt, and he's like, "Bro, my Piper is just sitting on the ground. I've got a brand new fucking turbo caravan. Just come and take my plane."
Yeah.
And I was like, this is what made me change from helicopters to fixed wing.
Sure.
And he's like, I didn't really have an avenue to continue in helicopters.
Sure. Well, and especially with fixed wing, because of all the people that you know in the sport, you hit a certain point and you can write your own ticket.
Yeah.
And it's just super, super cool to see everybody heading that direction and falling in love with it as well. Because I've had
so much fun.
Oh, yeah, dude. Well, and it's kind of
best.
funny because I've had a lot of people over the years kind of wondering that don't fly. Why the fuck would you give up jumping full time to go fly a plane? It looks so boring, and I'm
better
like,
than flying your body.
I'm like, it is so intense. You have
dude,
no
in the
idea.
helicopter, they're like, I can go proxy for 90 seconds on my wingsuit.
Yeah.
In a helicopter, I was like doing 96 minutes.
Yeah.
Just like Oh, like Star Wars through trees, dude. It's just insane.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Well, and flying, just like skydiving or base jumping, you can make of it what you will, you know?
Yeah.
You can definitely take it the direction that you want. And we're very privileged in this sport to be able to fly in a
all of
way.
our friends own planes. It's insane.
Oh, dude, you know, I mean, they own planes or because you're in the sport, you have access to so many different
exactly.
aircraft
Cheap dry hours.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
so.
and the type of flying that we get to do is also, I mean, come on. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, I spend my work day taking my
dude.
friends to altitude, throwing them out of the plane and chasing them to the ground.
And when we really want to play, it's like, okay, Dean, I'm going to get out my big wing. So you bank 180 and I'm going to just be on top of your plane the whole way. And like, we can do rad things. And like, I don't want to have fat people strapped to the front of me when I'm 45 years old.
Right, yeah.
It's like, I can already tell my body's deteriorating. I'm going to keep it as fit as possible, but
Sure.
do I want to like hang Asian people on the front of me for like the next 10 years?
Yeah.
No, there's going to be a point where I'd like to coach some days and then fly the plane other days, and I just want to diversify. And I've always been about certification.
That was me too. You know, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed my time as an active professional skydiver, and hauling meat was always fantastic. But you know, I'm 50.
Yeah.
And I've strapped enough big people. to me.
Yeah.
I don't need to do it anymore.
Yeah, you
It
don't need to
hurts,
meet girls
you know?
on the front of you and shit.
No,
so it's over,
man, I'm not trying to get laid from a tandem anymore. And so now for me to be able to go out and just do a fun jump now and then or do a hop and pop, but I'm still in the sport, deep in the sport, and flying every day and loving every bit of it.
Well, this is the thing with helicopter. I got like, this is crazy. I was like obviously grasping at straws when I got hurt. So I was like, my friend came over to have a barbecue and he was like, you should become a helicopter pilot. He was one. He is a helicopter. And I was like, yeah, I totally should. Helicopters are badass. And then I was like, all right, sweet. So I booked into it. And then at like hour 15, I started to hear about the jobs that were available to me. And I'm like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
I was straight up, I'm like, I'm not going to go muster cattle with a fucking helicopter. I spent 10 years going offshore and hiding in a fucking oil rig.
Right.
I'm not going to go to a farm 2,000 kilometers from any city and hang out with fucking cowboys. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. They started offering me jobs. I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah.
So then I was like, holy shit, I've just like spent 20 grand on nothing. And then I was like, the guy's like, you know, you can do an integrated license. And I was like, oh, can I? Because then, like, Noah was like, dude, just do a fucking fixed wing.
Yep.
And then I'll just lend you my plane.
Yep.
Pay dry hire. So I was like, oh, shit, I don't want to waste the 17 hours I've done on a helicopter.
No, hell no.
So, but they were like, oh, you can convert. So I finished the private. I'd already done CPL, heli theory.
Right.
I finished the private flying, like 56 hours or something.
Sure.
So I can fly helicopter or whatever. And then I was like, okay, I'll transfer. As soon as I'd done the 50, and I did another 35 fixed wing. And then I was like, in maybe 80 hours, I have CPL plane, come do some hours with you from the hangar or something.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can just go fly a 182 rig somewhere for a year or two, or borrow my Noah's Piper. And
Oh, yeah. Well, and
then,
time goes through the roof so quick, man.
Yeah, and to be honest, like I've always been good at kind of making money. So it's I've always reinvested in myself. Like, like you are your own business, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So if you don't like progress yourself, you don't want to like spend all your money and not reinvest in the company.
Right.
So you got to reinvest your own company. And I was like, I'll just go do a holiday in Washington, borrow Noah's plane, pay him, pay for the maintenance on the plane, and just pump hours, pay fuel, and like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
the way forward.
Fly all around this beautiful countryside.
Totally. And then you can just stay in the same environment working with your friends. Like, you're not going to have to, like, leave your environment.
No.
It's just your same friends, but you're doing a different job at the drop zone.
Yeah. Well, and that was kind of the thing. That was one of the reasons that it was so easy for me to transition from, because, I mean, let's face it, skydiving or base jumping is such a lifestyle that to change not just jobs, but lifestyles.
I don't want a real job. You don't want a real job.
No, fuck no. Absolutely not. So for me to be able to just go, oh, wait a second. So I'm still at the drop zone every day. The only difference is I'm getting up front instead of in the back.
Yeah.
And okay, done.
And nowadays, these guys are doing this thing where you job share, right? You go find another dude that has a pilot license and a TI.
Oh, yeah.
Take turns every day. You do 3 days on, 4 days, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, this is the way forward, dude. I don't want to ever stop jumping.
No.
But, like, swapping every day, like, Justin Swill, he's just crushing right now. He's jumping like a mad cunt.
Oh, yeah.
It'd be like, Justin, I'll do Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays.
Yep.
I'd love to like hook up with someone like him who's fired up to jump
Oh, hell yeah.
and doing a swapperoo.
Well, and that's what's been fun for me too is, and I've said it on many of the podcasts before, is I rediscovered what being a fun jumper is about because I never fucking knew, because I started jumping as a professional, tandem instructor and camera guy so fucking early on, and now I'm a jump pilot that gets to go fun jump. So for me, fun jumping is the most amazing thing in the world.
And dude, setting up to like I've been out the last few weeks because I'm too poor to. I just spent like 300 euros on 6 jumps.
All right.
You son of a bitch. And I was like, right, I'm going to go down to Skydive Abu Dhabi. And I get down there and I'm like, holy shit, this is like cowboy land. And they're doing a great job. They're gonna get there. It's just, it's like any drop zone early on.
Yeah.
They're in the progression.
Sure.
But I get there and there's the military pilots running it and it's a little bit loose. And
Sure.
all of a sudden normally I'm a small fish in a big pond. Like,
right.
There's always a Vitor or a Rob Jones
Sure.
to like work out what's actually happening for me, so I don't have to try.
Right.
But that's like, holy shit! Like I need to actually take control of some like
Sure.
LO stuff here. I need to load organize a little bit because these guys are a little bit crazy. And it's cool when you like see the winds change and you look at the pilot and you're like, you need to hook the jump run, like we need to change by like 50 degrees where we're right now, and it's
Right.
really fun even at my basic level of piloting to like engage with the
It's
pilots.
fun, right?
Yeah, no, I would really like to take control of a plane and be like make the skydives better for
Yeah, man.
people.
Yeah.
It's like as a skydiver you can really improve on what the jumps will end up.
Yeah. Well, and I've said it for a long time, the best jump pilots are jumpers, for sure.
100%.
And it's I'll tell you right now, it's fun as fuck to be at a level where I know enough about skydiving and I know enough about flying that I know on every jump run I'm doing the best that I can to give them the perfect spot to go out and fuck around and have as much fun as they want. And you start out the day by looking at the winds and you can read it, and there's a certain pride and a pat on the back when you show up and you drop that first load of the day and ground's like, yeah, that spot's perfect.
On point.
Yeah, that spot's perfect. Don't change it. And you're like, fucking, all right, cool.
This was the funniest part is I come back and like the whole landing area was chocked out with that event stuff,
Right.
So I come out, I hadn't done hadn't done a skydive in 15 months, and they're like, yeah, you can go, you're staff, so it's fine. So I got out and I just like hung out this like head up jump, and it was fine. It was like I ended up in a little bit in tears actually. I was like I got to the door and it was like hadn't been back there since Micah, and it was like a little bit on. Vitor's in the door, I gave him a high five, and I was like got out, did a mad barrel roll and just like charged, hit up the whole way down, got down, and so I was like, yeah, that was fun. Second jump I was like, cool, I'll put the wingsuit on, I'm trying to get current to go to Russell Kamer and do some base jumping again. And it was like hardcore easterlies. So obviously I'm last out. I'm solo wingsuiter. So everyone got out. I looked out. The spot was a bit shit. Not because of any other reason, they're just poor conditions.
Sure.
So not current. Took a little bit while to turn around. I start flying up jump run because I didn't want to slam up jump run. And normally when you're a wingsuit, you can just see all 6 tandems in a row. You just, you're a 2,000
pylons.
Yeah, and it's like, but I could only see 4 of them. It was kind of a hazy day, and I was like, so I'm like hammering into the headwind, and I'm like, I've got this. And I'm like, as soon as I can see the 6th one, I'll just cut through and I'll like buzz the tandem and I'll get back on the side that I need to be on to actually land on site.
Right.
But I just couldn't see the 5th and 6th one. And I'm like, I'm like not that confident, feeling a bit uncurrent. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to like cross jump run to be a dick.
Right.
I'm not going to like just do something. Because normally if you're current, you just like, you'd aim at one and you know the other ones are ahead.
Sure.
So, but I'm not going to make an aggressive maneuver. So I just continue up. And then all of a sudden my beeper starts going off. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm in no man's land. I'm like, so I'm thinking about it. I'm like, what do I do? Oh, shit. Second beeper's going off. I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm just going to have to do this. I'm landing off for sure. Flare, pitch at like 3.5. Look at the drop zone, and I just go nowhere. I'm like, oh, I'm late. Can I make it back? I'm over the new construction site, because everything's new there now. I've been gone for a year, so like everything's different. I pitch, and I'm like, maybe I can make it back, but I'm going to have to cross the runway at like 800, maybe less, maybe like it's going to be
dirty low.
This is going to be horrible. So I'm like, fuck it, right? Like, I'm just going to have to like take this on the chin, So fuck it. Turn downwind. And I'm like, the one and only's there. I love the one and only. Like, we
Right.
used to do in hops there, you know, fuck
Right.
it. It's a good out. I'm like, I'm not going to land on the construction site. There's rebar everywhere and shit.
Yeah.
So I just turn way downwind. I land on the palm. The boat's already there. And I'm like, oh, I'm in so much trouble. I'm like, for sure, everyone's going to think I did this on purpose. They're going to be like, Ryan's back. He's trying to cause shit and just do an in-hop. So the boat comes, are you okay? You okay? I'm like, of course I'm fine. I'm in a fucking beach. Like, what? Like, I'm fine. So I
Right.
get the thing, and as soon as I get on the boat, I hear on the radio, like, fucking Ryan Graney, like, just ground that motherfucker. He's out. Like, for sure this is on purpose. And I'm like, oh, shit. And, like,
All right.
so she's not happy. She just assumed, because when I used to just be a fun jumper, I used to take, if there was people traveling, I just take it on in hops. I was a bit of an asshole when I was a fun jumper. But I actually wasn't doing this on purpose. This was a legitimate alternate landing area. So I got on the boat and I'm like, oh man, I'm grounded for sure. And I was like, I didn't have the heart to tell everyone that, like, I'm just shit right now.
Right.
I'm just on current.
Right.
I'm just totally fucked up. I was like, everyone's hating on me. Like, I walk into the packing area and everyone's like, just getting this slow cat from people. I'm like, I wish that it was me being an asshole.
Yeah.
I honestly wish that I chose that and that was me being funny about like, no, this is my second skydive in 15 months and I just ate shit. Like,
You just fucked it
yeah,
up.
I just fucked up
Yeah.
and like no one believed me because they assumed that I had enough fucking.
Of course.
Yeah, but
Of course.
I had to walk in and manifest and be like, I'm really, 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 really sorry.
We're the victims of our own reputations.
Yeah,
aren't we?
right. And like, this is the funniest part is like when Greg hired me, because I went to the desert as I was deciding I didn't want to be a rope access engineer anymore.
Right.
And like, I was about to quit my job at Ski Dubai. Me and Jason Christensen both decided, let's go get our tandem ratings so we have an option.
Sure.
So originally, like, we went and did our tandems with Junior down in the desert. I did 13 tandems. I was going pretty strong. And I rocked into Greg's office. And, like, Greg Shelton's one of my best friends.
Sure.
I love Greg. So I walked in there. I used to go in his office all the time. I just
Right.
walked in there and one day I was like, so, Greg, you give me a fucking job or what? And Greg's like, yeah. What do you mean? I'm like, yeah, you give me a job. He's like, do you have a tanning rating? I'm like, yeah, I got one on the weekend. He's like, if you can outfly me out the door, I'll give you a job. I'm like, sweet, let's go. So it's tandem 14, getting the plane with Greg. Obviously, Greg's Mactomb, he's 6'5".
Right.
He's an exceptional beast.
Right.
He's like, and I was like, well, I don't think I'm ever gonna outfly you out the door.
Right.
But like, obviously, I just have to like not eat shit and get a drogue out, right? Like, so we get to the door, and I don't know if you remember, but before it was the new one, it caught on fire that time.
Yeah.
The whole fucking thing went
Oh
up.
yeah.
So me and Greg get to the door, and the entire drop zone's on fire. So we go to the door, and Greg's like, you've got a lot going on here. I hope you got this. So we pitched at the door, and Greg's just thrown his big gangly legs out like 90 degrees, and
Sure.
I've just gone full slow fall and like managed to stop him from tipping us and got a drogue out. We pitched, but by the time we get down, even Greg didn't realise the whole landing area is just black smoke. And he's like, can you land a tandem blind? And I was like, well, I fucking hope so, Greg, because otherwise we're going to both fucking break our legs.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is the best test ever. Greg's cracking up laughing because he knows he can just grab everything.
Sure.
Like, Greg doesn't give a fuck.
And he's
like,
got it.
Yeah, he's got it. But he's like, this is the best thing ever because, like, he's like, I love ruining Ryan's day.
All right.
So I fucking, like, come in and I even said to him at, like, 1,000 feet, I'm like, it's my first tandem at the like, what's, like, just for learning's sake, I'm not even asking for help. What's the best setup that you guys normally do here? It's my
Right.
first- And he's like, you want to post up over here, and then you want to do your 400 check here, and, you know. So I get it, but as we turn in the 400, we're just in black smoke.
Jesus.
And Greg's like, you got this? I'm like, well, let's hope I do. But I was like, yeah, I come in, and like coming through like total blackout. But you can kind of see like 50 meters to your left or right,
Right.
where the grass is, so you know
Sure.
your level.
Yeah.
But like you can't see where your level is.
Right.
So I come in and swoop. I like do full flare, and then Greg just stands up. He's 6'5". I'm 5'8". I just end up hanging on Greg's back. I'm just standing. I'm in midair. Greg's like, great landing, and I'm just like, normally you do the unclip of the top fucking
Yeah,
buckles,
for
but
sure.
I'm just hanging like a turtle shell on the back of Greg's thing, and he's like, I think you got a job, bro.
Awesome.
Yeah, I was like, well, I mean, I didn't actually land this. Like, I'm still not on the
I'm not
ground.
down yet. My
Thanks.
jump's not over.
Thanks, though. Yeah, so I'd end up doing, that's when I quit so I went back to work the next day, and my boss just tore shreds off me at the Skidoo By. And that was one of those moments when someone, like, gives you shit and you no longer have to take it. And I was just like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, you're cool, I'm out. And I was like, I'm done. So I ended up doing 437 tandems at the Palm. Straight after that, I ended up working for the next 2 months. And
Fucking can't beat that.
that was Micah just, right, then he said, you had to come to Dubai to become a proper skydiver. And
Can't beat that shit, man.
he did his job, man.
Oh, man.
His journey was...
Oh, man. Now, all right, so let me ask you, moving forward, I always ask towards the end of every podcast, what advice you're going to give to people that are just getting started, whether it's base jumping or skydiving, and people that are burned out and maybe just quitting. What advice do you give to those two groups of people?
No, this is real for me. So
Yeah, man.
train hard. Treat it seriously. Don't get burnt out and stop doing fun jumps. You can't just say this is a job. It's not. Like, there's a lot of guys at the Palm now. They get their 200 or 400 free fun jumps every year, but some of them don't use it. And it's like,
Yeah.
in every other job, if someone pays for free training, you go to it.
Yeah.
Keep training. Stay fit. Respect it. Enjoy it. Work should be enjoyable.
Sure.
And if it's not, fuck off.
Yeah. Time to find
Like,
something new. Well,
yeah,
especially
like
when it's
progress.
something like this is fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
What we do is dangerous.
If
Even
it's just a money job, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, I go work in a bank.
Yeah.
Like, if you
Yeah.
want a bullshit job, like find a passion. Even if, like, for me, there's two ways to work. You either find a high-paying job that you sacrifice time for that allows you to live your passions, and then you self-sponsor yourself. I did it with oil and gas. Like, if you have a job you have to work 150 days a year, but it pays you $100,000 a year,
Sure.
sponsor yourself to be a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Be a professional family person. Be a professional something. But, like, approach whatever that you care about as a professional and use it as funding. If you want to sacrifice your time for money, use that money to be special. Now, if you love your job, take a low-ass wage and just fucking live it.
Yeah.
Because that's your passion.
Yeah.
If someone's going to pay you $40,000 a year and you're happy every day, fucking take that job every time.
That's worth more than millions.
Last year, when I got, after doing these 500 tandems, I wanted a long summer break, and the particular management at the time weren't accepting of me having the time off. They wanted me to be their bitch a little bit, which is fine. Like, I was a low experience jumper, and they expected me to make a massive commitment, and I wasn't willing to. So we separated paths. No problem with them. They're a lovely company, and they gave me everything I wanted.
Sure.
But we weren't willing to agree on the time ratio.
Sure.
I have no problem with that. But if you're going to have a lifestyle job, make sure that it makes you happy. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
God, yes.
So, like, as long as you're, like, either sacrifice your time for money or take a low-paying job, it doesn't matter. Like, they're going to be equal at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, find someone that's going to finance your dreams. Don't just sit and have a job. What?
No,
I
it
don't
seems like such a
understand
fucking
about
waste.
like if I'm not growing, I'm unhappy.
Well, I mean, the majority of people were programmed to believe that work sucks. 5 days a week is horrible. You live for the weekends. And that's what a lot of people around the world, not just in the States where I'm from, but a lot of people around the world do that. And people like you and I are the weird ones because we won't accept that shit.
I was an engineer for fucking 10 years, and, like, largely it didn't make me happy. But they paid me a lot of money to be able to pay for all the shit that I did.
Sure. And
When I went to tandems, it was less money by a long way,
Sure.
but I was around happy people every day, and it excited me.
Of course.
And if I can share that time with my friends, I'll always be happy.
Yeah, man. Well, you know, and I mean, I hate to say it, but that seems to be the biggest theme in the sport too, is we've got into this sport because of a passion, a drive for something, and to turn it into something minor and bullshit just is not.
Yeah. Growth or happiness. Now, whether you need to get the money to pay for the growth or you're getting the growth through the employment for a small
Yeah.
fee, it doesn't matter. But like, choose growth.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing is people just assume that people like you and I don't do anything we don't like to do. That's bullshit. I've done a whole fuckload
dude,
of stuff.
I have buried myself in a pile of shit several times.
God, yes, absolutely. I've done shit for years that I hated, but there was a means to an end, and there was at least a direction that I was going.
I worked in factories, fucking operating forklifts when I hurt myself before. Like, whatever is going to get you to the next step,
Absolutely.
keep growing.
Absolutely.
And, like, that's the thing. Like, people get married and have things that are just trying to sustain shit. Fuck sustainability.
Yeah,
Fuck
no,
it.
yeah,
Like, I would prefer to be fucking homeless than be sustainable.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Like, just grow.
Yeah.
And, like, you can grow in any fucking way. Just
As long as you're aimed towards something. Yeah, it's that stagnant bullshit.
every
that just-
single minute should be somewhere heading forward.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all I have to
Absolutely.
say.
Well, shit, man. I'll tell you what. This has been fucking hilarious.
I
and
hope that was
fantastic.
good. Yeah, I was actually nervous about doing this. The funny thing is, I'm normally lost for. Like, I'm not lost. I'm not lost.
Not
for
at a
words,
loss for words.
But I get nervous when it's on thing. Like if I'm at a bar talking shit, I'm like.
Of course. You know, it's funny. I've had a few people, both in the studio and online, that I would have expected to be, hard charging and having a blast with it, that got really nervous on me. You didn't get nervous at all, at least not apparently. So you clearly had lots to say and still have lots to say, and all kinds of fantastic stories. You didn't lock up like I've seen people lock up. So,
Okay,
dude, it's
good.
fucking great.
No, I really appreciate it. And to be honest, like, it's cathartic because I needed to get some stuff out.
Yeah, man.
So
You know,
I appreciate you having me.
No, it was. Believe me, as soon as I saw you, you and I locked eyes, and I went, "Oh, that motherfucker
I
needs
put
to be
on
on
the
my
costume.
podcast."
I put on the costume for a reason, and I rocked up at CCC before I came here, and they're
Right.
like, "Oh, you're in party costume." I said, "No, I'm going to Dean tonight, and I just want to feel it."
Yep.
And like, I need to be me, and sometimes I see my own personality.
Yeah, believe me, it's exactly what I expected. Especially as soon as I saw the jacket, I'm like, "Oh, fuck yes,
I'm ready."
Awesome. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. And again, I can't thank you enough for the time. I definitely they'll be around too, because I know that there's so many stories that we haven't touched on.
I actually haven't started to express myself yet.
Yeah.
This is
Oh,
about
no.
me. Wait till I start telling stories about people.
Well, see, that's the thing is, and I've told people this as well. I've had a number of people on the podcast that are very to the point and professional, and they say what they've got to say, and they'll let loose a little bit, but I always let them know there's going to be a round two, motherfucker, because I know you guys.
Yeah,
So,
sweet, bro.
thank you so much
Thanks for
for
having
taking
me,
the
bro.
time. Ryan, right here.
Love you, bro.
Yeah, love you
Peace
too.
out.
Well, there you have it. Another episode of the Lunatic Fringe podcast, brought to you as always by, well, wait, not as always, actually. Brought to you now by Gyro. Formerly known as NZ Aerosports, you'll head to gyro.com for their next level line of canopies. By Pussfoot, the Extreme Sports Collective. Head over to pussfoot.com to check it out. By Summit Parachute Systems, check out summitparachutesystems.com to talk to Jarrett Martin and the gang about kick-ass pilot rigs, rigging courses, and more. By Flyaway Indoor Skydiving, go to flyawaytn.com and check out all the cutting-edge stuff to come. By Pure Spectrum CBD, head to purespectrumcbd.com to check out their wide range of CBD products. And as for us, head to the lunaticfringepodcast.com to listen to any of the hundreds of episodes currently available, hit the link for our YouTube channel, pick up your copy of the Lunatic Fringe book or The Accidental Stripper, and get a sneak peek at upcoming guests. Once again, thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
jam.